I just developed this, okay, well, if I can be in control and be mean first, I'll never get hurt. So then when the conversation about freedom from sin started happening, I felt like that was absolutely impossible, because how could I be forgiven when I can't forgive?
It's just it's so like relieving. You know, like I don't have to depend on somebody to tell me like, you're so beautiful. Like I get to just believe it, because like he literally created me in my mother's womb, and that's like, ugh. It's so like, it still makes me emotional.
Yeah. We were created in his image, man and woman. Like, I mean, it's pretty clear to me. The image there. Like, it literally says in the first chapter of the Bible, like, God created man in his image. Like, that seems pretty straightforward to me. I don't think he's trying to play a trick on us.
Okay, question. Why do you think that, even from all of us that have heard that verse from birth, why is it so hard for us to believe that?
Because of sin. But then when we realize that, marks against us. But when we realize that we are free from sin and free from the marks against us, then that's when we can wrap, or that's when I was able to wrap my mind around it.
Yeah, because it's hard to believe that we're all made in the image of God when people do horrible things. Like that's confusing. But it all comes back to what you were saying. Like, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Like, people do horrible things outside of the character of God. That doesn't speak to their actual identity. That speaks to the lies that are being believed. Like Tyler, I'm going to keep using him as an example. Like Tyler,
He's free.
He's free. We can drag him through the mud. So, like, even though he was doing horrible things, he, in himself, in his created being, is not horrible. Like, he was believing horrible things about himself that were leading him to do things that were horrible, but because of the gift of being made in his image and then now having the Spirit that literally raised Jesus from the dead existing in us, I'm able to look at Tyler and be like, oh man, crazy, right? That you did those things. Love ya.
Love
You crazy bald guy.
Speaking of those like first 3 chapters, right? We read about sin, the first sin, and we look at Eve and we're like, girl, you were tripping. Like, why did you take that apple? Like, it couldn't have looked that delicious. Like, there's no way, right?
Yeah.
But what the enemy does is he comes and speaks a lie into her ear and says, makes her believe that she is less than who she knows that she is. So she came out of agreement with the truth about who she was. And only when she believed that lie did she reach out and act.
And what's crazy is she was believing a lie about herself because she was first believing a lie about God. Like, oh, God is withholding something from me, so I would be better off if I did this thing. So then anytime we believe a lie about ourselves, it's actually rooted in a lie that we're believing about God. Like, oh, you don't actually believe I'm good enough, so I need to prove it. Or you're always going to be mad at me, so I don't even really want a relationship with you. Like, those are all lies. And then we do that to other people. Like, oh, you hurt me, now you need to prove that you're worth my love again, because that's actually what I believe about God. Like, I believe that when I mess up, I have to prove myself to him again. So now you need to do that to me. Right? Like, it's all wrapped up in a lie that we believe about God. Lies.
And like, pre-freedom, the cross was actually condemning to me. I felt condemned by the cross.
Okay.
Exactly. Well, no, not I put you there. It was, wow, Jesus is so good that he would do that for me. I could literally never do anything that could earn it.
Got it.
Or like, how could he ever love me and look on me with like,
Got it.
desirable eyes, like favorable eyes, because look at how good he is, right? And that's because I didn't understand him at all. I didn't understand that it, like, I was under this lie that whole like, oh, he could have gotten down from the cross, but he didn't. Because he's good. God literally did not need to prove a thing. He doesn't need to prove his goodness. He could have. He could have gotten down, you evil little sinner.
You evil Sarah. I hope you feel terrible
He's
about
so
yourself.
good. Like, he needed to prove anything. Like, he's literally God.
Anyways, I spoke and you exist.
Like,
I don't have to prove
I didn't
anything to you.
even need to speak.
Yeah.
I could have just been like, and you would have been there. But I chose to
didn't.
take action for you,
Yeah,
right?
it was about us.
Like-
Again, like you said, I've always wondered, like, did Jesus really have to die? Like, could there have been another way? And I always come back to the fact that that was like the only way for us to get it. Like, the only way that he could prove to me that he loved me that deeply and chose me was to die for me, because there is no greater love than laying your life down for your friends. So, like, no, he didn't necessarily have to die. He's God. Like you said, like, there could have been another way to save us all, but he knew that that's how we would finally understand how deep his love went.
Yeah. Like when you're saying like he could have got down from the cross in freedom, I'm like, absolutely not. Like he literally moved heaven and earth, became a man. Getting off the cross wasn't an option, right?
Because if
Not an
he
option.
is love,
Yeah.
anything against that would have literally unraveled the universe.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
if I'm in a position where I'm blocking my son from getting hurt, or like if I'm blocking a bullet, I'm not gonna be like, maybe, you know what? Actually, I think you can dodge that. Like you're a fast
think
little
you
guy.
got it.
Like no,
It's
so
absolutely
ridiculous.
not. I'm here.
It's so ridiculous.
I'm here, and I'm not moving.
Yeah.
You know, along those lines, I remember you said something, Bibi, about what was a huge turning point for you was like you wouldn't want your son Siona to treat you the way you treated God, in the sense of like him coming and begging and pleading. Like if he actually did that to you, you would be devastated. I think that's the word you use. Like you would be sick to your stomach. You'd be devastated because that's so unhealthy.
And also like, yeah, I had always approached God with like, just like, I'm so gross and awful, I'm this disgusting worm, and like I'm so like I can't believe you allow me to be in your presence, and I'm just like, right? And like, and that was a very real thing. So I'm not like making fun of people that are experiencing that right now. You don't have to.
By the way,
That's not what he wants. And that's how I was approaching God. And then when God spoke that word, daughter, over me, it made me look at my son and like, no matter what he did, I don't care. I don't care what he goes out and do, like what he goes out and does. I would never want him to think that that's how he would need to approach me.
Right.
Like, let alone approach me that way. Like, I want him to know with certainty that I'm here.
Yeah.
With open arms.
Absolutely.
Wanting him to run into me. Just like this little one is running over the
running.
right? Like, if he felt that there was something that he did that he would need to come like on hands and knees, like crying, like not looking me in the eye.
Or afraid of you? Can you
Or
imagine?
afraid of,
that would crush me.
it
I'd
would
be
break
crushed.
my heart.
Man.
Yeah, no. And our Father is exactly. He's like, yeah, so in this moment, right, he's like speaking daughter over me. He's showing me Siona and like how much I love him and how there's literally nothing that he could do. Nothing that would ever make that any different. And how much I desire him to know how loved he is and how open and welcome he is, right? And I'm on my knees and I'm like crying and I'm weeping and like just so overwhelmed by the beauty and like just this massive like gift and like relief I'm receiving. And then my knees start to hurt, right? And they're like aching and I was like, no, I gotta stay here because you're just so good and I'm in your presence and this is amazing. And God, Spirit just goes, get up. What are you doing? Get up. Like, your knees don't need to hurt. Like, just get up. And like in that moment when he told me to get up, that is when it clicked, like who he is. Like, cause I didn't understand it before. I had no idea. There was this shore, like I was in the ocean and God was on the shore over there. And like in that moment when he's like, get up. Like I don't need this from you. Right? I don't need anything from you. I just want you.
Yeah.
I met him.
Crazy, right?
I have a question.
Okay.
So knowing that we are free from sin and that we are God's awesome kids, like how has that changed? I mean, it changes everything, right? We know that. But like, what are some of the biggest changes you've noticed living in the freedom from sin mindset? I mean, I know we've touched on, some of it.
My expectations for sure have changed for myself and for other people. So talking about the whole being free from sin, like sin is no longer an expectation for me. So the things that I used to do to earn or to prove, like I no longer expect those things from myself. So it's like I don't spend any time struggling with sin itself. And I know that sounds really scandalous. That sounds super scandalous, but like there are more scandalous things in the Bible than this. like there is this, like I am so fully convinced that I am love because the one who is love lives in me, that I expect myself to move that way. I'm so convinced that I have the fruit of the Spirit that I expect myself to be tender and patient and kind. And I see it within my marriage with Will as well. Like, full disclosure, I was married before, and I spent a lot of time trying to be kind, tender, peaceful, patient. And now in this marriage in freedom, that's just who I am. And that's who Will is. And it's not from a place of like, you're being, I don't know what the word is, pretentious, you're living in la la land, you guys aren't really that, whatever. No, it just means that if there's even any moment where like something emotional happens and like there's a moment where I could step out of that identity as a daughter, immediately Spirit's like, that's not who you are. Like it's almost like he's walking past me and he whispers real quick in my ear, like, that's not who you are, Joyce. Like, you don't have to do you don't have to do that. Like, you don't have to go there anymore. So now my expectations are, because I walk in the Spirit, that, like I said, I am love. This is the truth about me. So I don't have to seek other places for affirmation and validation. So that keeps me like living in this perfect peace. That's so good. I love that.
Yeah. It's like the Spirit has changed my vocabulary. Because the fruits of the Spirit thing. Like I have a 6-month-old. Like one time he was crying and 2 a.m. and I was like so tired. I was up for like the 3rd time, and I was like saying in my head, man, he's really testing my patience. And Spirit was like, no, you have my patience. You have the fruits of the Spirit. Like, get out of that mindset. Like, you are patience and you're love and you're all these things to your son. And it's just like, okay, like he's changing the way I think and I speak words over other people too, and think over other people. It's like, for sure, your patience. So
That's pretty cool.
Once you've seen God's love, you can't unsee it. You know what I mean? Like, once you start living in freedom, you can't undo that.
There's no going
Like, why?
No going back.
Why would you do that, right?
No, I don't
And
know.
so then not only does it change your life and the way you live it on a day-to-day basis, but then I have found myself that I view others differently. And then therefore I treat them differently. So if they sin against me or act some kind of way against me, I'm like, oh, you know what? They don't know what they're doing. They don't know who they are. It ultimately comes down to identity. And therefore, by default, I have this fruits of the Spirit. Just by default.
So like your default setting like has changed.
What we're saying is your default setting isn't sin, but it's righteousness.
Can I say that? Please say that.
Okay, I think I can. I think I read it somewhere. You got it, I can really relate to that though, like the way I see people, because I was so self-righteous, which made me extremely judgmental, and now I've just let all that go.
Wow.
Like knowing that I'm free from sin, I'm free from myself, I'm free from my works mindset mentality, and it's just so beautiful. I just love everyone. I really do.
Oh my gosh.
And like if someone is like
you
honks
really
at
do.
me, I really do. If someone gives me the bird or is rude to me at the grocery store, I'm just like, yeah, they don't know who they are, but I do. I know who they are. I freaking love you. You're awesome. It just rolls off. Just rolls off. I love you.
And like I was at the gym the other day, well, after I got free, I just started to view people differently, just everyone, right? Like I'm at the gym and I'm like, oh, that guy's loved. That guy's loved. She's so loved. Like she's perfect. He's perfect. Jesus died for that guy there. You know, it's just I don't view them as people anymore. They're my brothers and sisters. You know. Whereas before, old four was like, like I'm so much better than everyone in this room, and now I'm like, we're all loved. We're all great.
So happy we didn't meet each other in our old versions.
Oh, man.
Because now we actually get to love each other so much. Whereas before, I know I love you so much. Whereas before I would have been like, I don't know about her. But I'm going to be really nice to her because she's really sweet. So, like, I can't be, because if I meet you, then I'm the bad guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll just hate you from afar. But now it's like exactly what you're saying. I just freaking love you. Like, I don't even know you.
If something was going really well and you were winning in life, I would have such a hard time actually celebrating your wins because in my mind and my heart, I'm just like, why isn't this happening for me? She's so much cooler than me. Everyone likes her better than me. And Freedom shattered that completely. Like now, like every woman I meet is no longer a competition. Right. Like she's perfect. Like I'm just as gorgeous as her. Like now we're all dope. And like I don't have to doubt that. And it's not based off of what you look like or what you're doing. It's just I know that God has called us all to be dope. So now we are dope by faith.
Every woman I meet, I'm like, can we be best friends?
Right? I know. I'm like, I don't really know you, but it's fine. I just love you.
Also is like my life isn't about me anymore.
Wow.
So like I actually get to do things for others and it's not about me wanting to feel like a certain way. Like, oh, they're gonna think I'm kind now. But no, it's that like I actually want to be kind towards them. And so like people are now like approachable to me, whereas like I used to be very insecure, like, oh, what if like I try to be nice but it's awkward? You know, like I was making it about me even whenever it like wasn't. Whereas like now it's like, no, I can literally go talk to this person and even if it like might feel awkward for them, like that doesn't matter. Because like what I carry, I get to share. And why wouldn't I want to do that? So it's an honor.
Yeah, I remember, like, before Freedom, I had this mindset of, well, they made their bed. Now they have to lay in it. Like, that was hardcore, like, well, she's a hoe. If I edit that out, I'm like, that time, like, you reap what you sow. Like, I've been reaping this good life, so therefore I sow this, and I sow my righteousness and my salvation, all these things. It's deception. It was lies. Like, that's what it was. And now it's like when I see people who mess up, it's not this mentality of they made their bed, now they have to lay in it. They're like, you made your bed, but guess what? God will give you a new one. You just receive Him. It's so beautiful. So that's been awesome to have that shift.
I believe that I would have to live with not only what I did, but what other people did to me. Like I was like, until I die. I think actually me and Justin's behind the camera, that's what I'm gonna say. Justin and I had this, like, got into it a little bit because he was like, oh, you can be healed in Jesus. So I was like, I think that, you know, I'll be glorified someday, but like in this life, no way. There's like, that it doesn't happen like that because our brains are wired certain ways and we have generational trauma and past trauma and like I have all these wounds and like I have tools to deal with them or to like work through them or around them, but like that's never gonna change. And then I saw Jesus on the cross and how it wasn't just, he wasn't just like, okay, I'm God, I'm gonna just go down there, I'm gonna die, and like that's really gonna suck, like it's gonna hurt. But then I'm gonna, you know, be alive again, it's gonna be fine. But like, no, like, he was betrayed. He was stripped naked and exposed. He was violated and hurt, like emotionally, physically, in a very intimate and public way. He was offered a substance that would help take the pain away, and he was like taunted and abandoned.
Betrayed by his closest friends.
And the people that were supposed to love him most and like accept him and understand him and be around him, not only left but mocked.
Right. Right.
Right? And I saw that he saw me. Right?
Yep.
And he went through it and died, and when he was resurrected and had a new body, all of that was done away with. Like, he put all of those things on the cross,
Yeah.
and it died with him.
And then claimed victory over.
And then claimed victory over them. And so when I come into agreement with that death and that victory, that means all of those things are dead
Right.
for me. And I am alive, new
Yeah.
and fresh. Like, this body is not that body.
Right.
Like, this body that had been hurt and marked and scarred, that thing, when I went down into those waters in baptism, it stayed there.
Yep.
And I came up and had a fresh body, a new body, where none of those things were alive or present anymore.
Right. Right. No. Amen.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
Yeah. And so now I move, like, there was all these, like, it felt like there's all these tethers
Yep.
to the past, right? And I was just dragging them
Yeah.
with me, right?
Open through it.
Yep. And like, these wounds were open and bleeding and, like, you know? And then I died.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
What?
And was raised with him.
Right.
And like, he lives in me now.
Right.
And not only like are those wounds closed, but they have no hold and no effect
They're just
on me
reminders for
anymore.
what he's done.
Reminders of what he's done, and more than that, allows me to have empathy and a point of understanding for others.
In the same way that he did that for us.
Right?
Right.
And then we're all together with all of our different experiences and all of our nuanced lives and understandings. And now something that you went through is for her. And what I went through is for him. And what you went through, right? And it's just us bringing all